All right, so number one thing not to do in Medellin, Colombia. Now, there are a number of things you shouldn't do while in this city. One being wearing 8 chains in public, counting your money in public, leaving your drinks unattended at the bar. But I would say above all of those, the number one thing you shouldn't do here is get a car, either by buying or renting. And I say that because I've been asked that a few times about getting a car here. And look, most of you guys are coming down for a vacation or to possibly retire, to basically live a less stressful lifestyle. Getting a car here will not do that. And I'm not saying Colombians are the worst drivers in the world. If you've been to Jamaica, you know what I'm talking about. But the road rules here are a little bit different than, let's say, from the States. You know, for example, here you can make 5 lanes out of 2 if there's space. They have motos here that just weave in and out of traffic. You have people that walk in the street, ride bikes in the street, like in the middle of the street. And also at night. At night, the rules change a little bit as well because in certain areas, stoplights will turn into yielding lights. For some of you guys who've been in a taxi, you know what I mean. Because when the sun goes down, if it's 1 o'clock in the morning and you get to a red light, you can be a sitting duck for, just a moto to come up and just rob you or whatever. So at night, a lot of cars, they'll kind of run red lights. What I'm trying to make is there's not going to be a situation, at least I don't think, where it's like, you get in your car, you go on the highway, you put on cruise control, you pop in a podcast, and you're just relaxing. That will probably never happen. Which brings me to my next point. And I've talked about this in other videos, is that one of the benefits of living in this city is the infrastructure. And transportation is great. You have the metro here that's cheap and clean, and it'll pretty much take you to any of the major points in the city and even places outside of the city. You also have Ubers and taxis that are very, very cheap. I mean, you pay somebody, I would say $5-6, you can get from one end of the city to the next. So my advice would be to leave that at home. When you go to a new country, there are some things obviously that are ingrained in you, because you're a culture or whatever, that you bring with you to another country. But there are some things or ideas you should just leave back in your home country. And getting a car is one of them. I think you should just leave that back in the States or leave that back in Europe or wherever you're coming from, because in the city, you're not going to need it. However, I do think there are 2 exceptions, all right, 2 in my opinion. The first one would be if you're getting a motorcycle, because they're small, a little bit more agile, they're cheaper. But even then, I probably still wouldn't do it because every crash I see, there's always a moto in the vicinity on the ground, so I probably wouldn't do it. But hey, if you do get transportation, a moto, I think that would be an exception. Also, if you live in the countryside or you live up in the hills, you live a little bit outside of the city, so you need a vehicle to get back and forth through the city. If the metro does it, if you don't have a metro station nearby, then. But apart from that, you do not need a vehicle here. Here's what you do when you get down here: you pay a taxi or an Uber $2 to $3, and you let them deal with everything. You let them deal with the crazy bus drivers, people walking in the streets, the motos that weave in and out of traffic, while you're just in the back seat, just relaxing. And so that would be my advice. So if you're asking me, the number one thing not to do in Medellin, Colombia, that would be do not get a car here. Because some people, like I said, some people have asked me about renting and buying a car. Just don't do it. You're not going to need it, all right? But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right here. Hope that it's helped somebody. And I'll catch you guys at the next one. Deuces.